Out of my 118 videos, this Biomutant review is the one I've struggled with the most. As I was playing, I noticed some massive, and I mean massive flaws. The combat is shallow, enemy variety is terrible, combat balance is way off, I hate the way the dialogue is delivered, and the story isn't interesting at all. However, I still loved my 16 hours with Biomutant. I was pretty excited for this game. I love what THQ Nordic have been publishing recently, and the uniqueness of the game had me intrigued. So do I recommend Biomutant? Well, kind of, but let's go a bit deeper. Going into this game, I was expecting a Ubisoft style open world with a fun combat system and a unique setting, and I got most of that. It begins with some of the worst opening hours I've experienced in a long time. The game constantly takes control away from you through these flashback scenes of when your village was destroyed, giving you a lot of dialogue and cutscenes. Then I was in a mech for some reason. I was extremely confused. The biggest problem that arose from the start is how the dialogue is delivered. So all the characters speak gibberish and then the narrator explains what they said. So there's a bit of a delay. So the person would talk and then the narrator would say, "She says she likes you and that your destiny is in your own hands," or talk about the light versus dark. I hated the writing. Every single character said the same stuff. They either liked you for siding with a faction, or didn't like you because you sided with a different faction. Then mentioned something about light or dark, or how you can choose to shape your own destiny, or some crap like that. The whole plot is you trying to save the world tree that is being destroyed by 4 world eaters, typical open world stuff, so I can take it or leave it. However, once I figured out every character has the exact same dialogue, I just skipped all of it. I hated how it was written and delivered, so after about 6 hours I just gave up caring. If you want more chill content about all sorts of games, then please subscribe, it would mean a lot. Before we talk about the gameplay and character builds, I just wanted to mention one thing that the game got right. The visual design is amazing. You can see that the people at Experiment 101 were allowed to flex their muscles with some unique creature designs, an interesting world, and the armour and weapons are some of the best I've seen in a while. The backstory is that the world has become polluted because of a corporation called Toxinol, so everything is recycled crap from the old world. So you can have a toilet plunger as a weapon or a guitar. I love this so much. Same with the armour. Sometimes you look ridiculous, other times I was wearing a bomber jacket with some cool camo pants. The world itself is absolutely breathtaking in moments, and I think the calmness of exploration is executed brilliantly. If you like calm open worlds where you can just zone out, take in the sights, maybe listen to a podcast, then Biomutant is perfect for you. Okay, now on to the main part of the game. So you're probably wondering if it has good gameplay since the story isn't all too great. This is the part I'm most conflicted on. I didn't like the story, but I loved the world, but I'm split right down the middle on gameplay. You begin with a character creator, and depending on the race and the stat you spec into, your character looks different, which I think is a nice touch, until you realise that starting stats mean feck all. Throughout the game you can spec into anything you like, and I never had issues with stat checking or feeling like I went down the wrong path. I mean, this can be a good thing, but I'd rather if my stats meant something. I was hoping it would change up the gameplay a bit, so then I'd be compelled to do a second playthrough with a different class or race, but this isn't the case, especially when you realise that melee combat is pretty useless. Which brings me on to the combat balance. It wasn't too long before I realised that range combat is the only way forward. Melee combat never felt as good as it should, especially in a Kung Fu RPG. With only a handful of combos, it was only used as a means to get my super Wung Fu meter up to unleash a flurry of range attacks. Once I figured out this system, combat became a breeze and I rarely struggled with it, which is a shame. On top of this, you have some interesting magical abilities, or so it seemed. There's some unique choices here, like a bouncy mushroom that launches enemies into the air, but there are no aerial combos, so that felt pretty useless. I had a Palpatine lightning ability, which took a long time to unlock but was pretty useless. The premise of some of these powers are great, but the execution is poor to say the least. They didn't flow well into the combos, so I only ever used one or the other. The main boss fights are all gimmicks too. Each of the 4 world eaters are fought with some sort of vehicle. One is fought on horseback, another on a mech. This might appeal to some, but not to me. The more I think about the combat system, the more I dislike it, but I think the design of the game works in its favour. Remember when I said there's a calmness to exploration? Well, combat encounters don't happen too often while exploring, so you're just left to soak in the world, and this works in the favour of the lacklustre combat system. Look, it's not terrible, but it's certainly not good. However, there was one part of the gameplay that I fucking loved, and this is the craft. As you explore the world, you find components and resources to craft some bonkers weapons. Even normal weapons are fun to craft with loads of different options to choose from. However, the fun comes in making random weapons like turning a guitar into a massive blunt weapon, or making a cool rifle that deals electricity damage. I rarely spend time with crafting systems in games, but I was constantly making and swapping out new weapons. On top of this, any components you use can be taken out and used in different weapons, so there are no real drawbacks to experimenting with new weapons. And before we wrap it all up, I just want to talk about the side objectives and the exploration. So there's nothing really new here. Take out enemy camps, free captives, find underground loot, finish puzzles, that sort of stuff. These objectives are fine if you want to clear the map, but they don't do anything special. As for traversal, you have a horse type mount, which some of the designs are hilarious. A Breath of the Wild style hang glider that I really didn't like the feel of, and a jet ski type thing for water. Traversal is made really quick and easy with all these options, and this combined with a lot of fast travel points made exploration really enjoyable and my favourite part of the game. Now with all that said and done, even though there's so many flaws, I had a lot of fun with Biomutant. Sitting here writing out all my issues with the game still hasn't changed my mind on it. There is something underneath all the shit, and I hope Experiment 101 can make a sequel, because with a bit of refinement, maybe a smaller world with less to do but higher quality objectives, this could be an amazing open world experience. But as for now, it's just okay. Is it worth $60? Probably not. I spent €55 on it, and I don't feel burned on it, but there's definitely better options out there. You can buy Immortals Phoenix Rising for very cheap right now, and I would recommend that game over this every day. I'll probably just trade in Biomutant because I can get €32 store credit in CX, so I'll recoup some of my losses for it. I really appreciate you watching, I hope you enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe and join the Discord down below, and I'll see you all on the next video.